It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's all over the internet. I know. People are just they get crazy. Yeah. I gotta go. Hi, it's me. You know me, Mrs. Kasha Davis, and I am thrilled, over the moon, flipping my lid that you have continued to come back. I mean, nearly a dozen of you have subscribed, and I can't even believe it. I think I have a new fan. It's more than the only fan, Mr. Davis, that I have. He subscribes. Anyway, I'm so excited today to bring another mover, a shaker, a motivator, an entrepreneur, and somebody that I've known for a very long time. The fabulous Miss Dee Dubois.
Well, hello, Mrs. Kasha Davis. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
And you know, this particular studio has modern technology. We can hang these up.
Can we?
And we can actually hear each. Listen to that. I mean, this is fantastic.
It's great.
It's like we're right across from each other.
Honey, we can hear you in a different room anyway.
I know, I project. It's the old theater gal in me.
It's a great thing.
Oh my God.
It's
Let me tell you
thing.
something. I decided to do this podcast because I felt like continuing to spread the positivity, spread the joy that is drag. And I began to think of different people that I wanted to have on the show, and I immediately thought of you. Now, you and I have known each other for quite a long time.
We have.
And like any friendship or just, family of the drag community, we've had like sometimes a little bit of a run-in, but nothing dramatic.
No, because we're adults.
We're adults. But I just can't wait to talk about your story. And most importantly, how inspired I am by you. In a very, very difficult time, you did some amazing things. So before we get into that, tell everybody who you are and when you started drag.
Well, I'm honored to be here. I'll tell you that. And clearly you're just having anybody because I heard your postman is coming in next.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and the person that watches your dog.
Exactly.
I mean, Max, but anyway, no, I started drag, 27 years ago.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy. It has been ups and downs, and I would say that now is an up time, even though busier than ever and crazy and drag has kind of consumed a giant chunk of my life.
Right. Well,
but it's great.
It's spreading all over drag, and that's what's exciting about the self-expression and the positivity that comes from it and the fun. And that's what Dee Dubois has always been fun. So you started 27 years ago. Was this in college or?
Yeah, well, I didn't really go to college. I was kind of like coming out and like discovering myself.
Right.
And then that's how I met a community. And I kind of realized college wasn't for me. I landed the job that I still have today, my day job. So I didn't really finish college. I was too busy figuring out and finding myself.
And that's fantastic.
And it worked great. And Dee Dee was a really big part of discovering who I was as a homosexual. And it was a community that I met, that I began to embrace and love. And, we'd go out and we'd dabble with makeup as, little club boys.
Right.
Because it was little then. And we would, and I had hair.
All right, well, we both have hair now, but it's just on our back.
Correct. And we would dabble in makeup anyway, and that's how I developed a sense of community. And then it would have been college age, 18. I started playing around with it. I didn't really start doing drag till probably about 20, so it's really only been about 25 years because I'm in my mid 40s now, so closer to 50 than I am 40.
Well, so club days. So you are somebody who really, I remember when I first came onto the scene, was one of the club queens.
Yeah,
and I think was it Tilt?
It was GQ and Tilt.
GQ, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. GQ was one of the first clubs, and now GQ is the Spaghetti Warehouse restaurant or something?
Yeah. And it was so terrible, but it was great.
Yeah.
It was home.
Right. And there was like a foam night one night where there was like, and those were days back in my drinking days. And I just remember you as being sort of the leader of the troupe, always a leader. Yeah. And let me just go back a little bit and just say for anyone listening, I mentioned college days, just thinking like college age.
Oh, yeah.
I want to just reiterate this, that people have many different paths. And we're talking to somebody here today who is very successful. And this does not mean like the only path for people is to go to college. It was that age is my point.
Oh, no. Yeah, I know what you mean. And, I definitely had the college experience.
Right.
But I also got up every day and worked my full-time job.
Yeah. So, okay. you're back then, you're in the club scene, you're getting started. Who were the people that were sort of your people you looked up to that were inspiring you?
I mean, several of them still do drag now. I mean, they're your Drag Me to Brunch crew.
Right.
I mean, Aggie Doon, Ambrosia Salad, Darian Lake, Pandora Box.
Right.
I think these are names some people should know. Whether you're from Rochester or not, you should know these names. And then Helena Troy.
Right.
She helped me tremendously. And like, I call her my drag mom, but I don't look anything like her. Consuela used to perform in Rochester.
Yes.
And so she was instrumental. And then obviously I had like my sisterhood,
Right.
Shirley Devine and Sasha Sachet and Mirabella. And so that, they were, they became my chosen family.
Chosen family.
Which is great.
Now, when you talk about the chosen family, I had the situation where I was disowned when I came out. What was your experience in that respect?
So mine was a little, it was a little odd, right? Like my mom obviously knew. I mean, she's not blind, and I think she picked up on things. And then, then it became that I was lying to her. So it became kind of about her and not about what I was going through. So that made it a little bit hard. Obviously, fast forward, everything's great. I was never really disowned, but I didn't really come out. I came out at an earlier age than you did, but I didn't. I was 18 by the time I came out. So at that point, I was working full time, and I just chose to kind of leave the house.
Right.
Then it was time to spread my wings and do
Find
that.
yourself.
Yeah, and obviously, my dad struggled with it tremendously at the beginning, and to my surprise, my dad is my biggest supporter now.
That's amazing.
It really is, and the world, helped with that too, certainly.
Well, and the world, and then honestly, I think the great message there is that you went out, found yourself, found a family, but also gave your parents the space and the time to continue to grow along with you.
Yeah, I didn't hate them because of their reaction. Like I tried to understand it,
Right.
So it took a little bit to get there.
Right.
But in the whole scheme of my life so far, that was a tiny little bit of time. So, you put things into perspective.
Well, I want to say it was the first time that I met your mom. Recently, she was catering an event, and she couldn't be more proud.
Yeah.
And it was a mom, or was it?
That's my stepmom.
Your stepmom. It was
Yep.
your stepmom. Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to say, but one of the parental figures in the family.
Yeah.
And just so proud and just so excited. So
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah, they're great. They're my whole family is great. Obviously, at the beginning, drag was very separate and very, it wasn't a main focus in my life. It was fun and it was on the weekends, and I kept it very separate from my boy life.
Right.
But obviously now things have mushed together as I've gotten older, and that's fine. It's actually great. My family's been very supportive now, so they don't really. They don't have a choice, right?
They don't have a choice.
It's my life.
I love that. And I realized that my family came around with me when I essentially gave them no choice. I was loving myself. I was confident with who I was. I wasn't trying to please them and give them what they wanted. I was respectful, but it was about that self-love. And I think that's a good message.
Yeah, and I think the same way that you have Mr. Davis, I have my husband, Matt, and I've been with him for a long time. So that made it easier for the family too, right? They saw what they thought was normal.
Right.
So that, while we don't have children, we've always had our four-legged
Of course, the
children.
babies.
And so I think that helped my family get more comfortable with things. So
How long have you two been together?
we've been together since 2000.
Oh, wow.
And we got married in 2013. So yeah, we wanted to make sure, so now we're all 11 years now. So we wanted to make sure that it stayed legal. In
Right.
California, it was legal, then it wasn't legal anymore. And so we're like, let's just make sure New York stays on the right path before we legally got married. It's just a piece of paper, for us. So, but it was important for us because there are certain protections and things that you get by being married. And we
Right.
wanted to make sure we took care of that.
Well, we felt the same way. We called it our real wedding, which was when it wasn't legal. And then we had the, paper wedding.
Yep.
And both were special in their own way.
Yeah.
And honestly, to be honest with you, and as you're alluding to, we weren't sure it was going to stick. We weren't sure. Like there was just this like, is this going to happen? We may as well, take advantage of it. And we kind of replicated certain things. And I was lucky to have my dad attend the second one. They didn't attend the first. So again, time.
Just took time.
Took time. So, all right. You were, as I mentioned, somebody who would gravitate towards the clubs. You were, I've always noticed that the college kids, you've done a lot of college shows, the college kids would gravitate to you. The drag scene in Rochester is pretty amazing. We support each other. There's a lot of individual type of characters and everybody kind of leans and teaches each other. But you would stand out because you were somebody who would not only be with the college, but you are a leader. And I mean, sometimes
a control freak. Is that what you're saying? I mean,
well,
we could look at it either way.
Well, I can relate to that. And I think I remember watching group numbers where you were like, this is exactly how I want to have things. And I love that. And you had the groups of, dancers and young queens just like gravitating to want to perform with you. And there was a part of me that was like enamored by that. I thought that was like funny, partly, but also like really cool. And I wondered where that was going to go. You became, I want to say, the show director at Tilt eventually.
Yeah.
And that really, I think you did that for quite a long time, right?
I did. I took a step back for a little while, but for most of the 15 or 17 years that I basically worked there, I ran most of the shows and all that. And it was fun. It was great.
And there was a great team there because
I had a great team of performers. Yeah. I mean, ownership management was what it was, but the performers was a great team.
Right.
And it changed all the time.
There was a great DJ there that you ended up.
There was a great DJ there, DJ Mighty Mike.
Right. So, that's what I was leaning towards.
Yes. Yeah.
There was. So you two gravitated towards each other and wanted to make sure you're putting on a great show.
Always.
Something like a club atmosphere, a dance club. Now I'm over at Mother's, which is like more the smaller cabaret style space. You're at the dance club. And we'll just say these places, one closes, another transitions, and things start to occur. And you are, I mean, again, from an outside perspective, your influence, your leadership was making that place stay afloat. What made you decide to go down the road of opening your own club?
I tell you, I never wanted to. It was never my dream. I was fine working for somebody else. I have my day job, I have my life, and drag is fun. And, I was getting older and my crowd kept staying the same age. It's like you said.
It's funny.
It's like you said. I'm like, man, like I'm old enough to be your mother or your father now. So what's going on here?
Well, part of it's the aesthetic and your attitude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I lean into Grandma Golden Ponds, you know what I mean? I like the older style drag. Yeah. I mean, it's just and so that's fine. But so here you are. You could have continued to just do drag on occasion. Yeah. And you decided, I'm going to open.
Oh, I didn't decide it.
Well
my husband decided it.
Okay, tell us about it.
Oh, my husband decided it. When Till was closing and we were going to be done, my husband's like, well, you're not done. You're a victim. You're a victim of a closing club. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, so he saw that leadership too, is what I'm saying.
And he's like, let's do this. And so, we called up DJ Mighty Mike and we're like, so we were doing these individual parties all around town.
Right.
And those weren't really working because I'm a control freak. And I couldn't control everything.
Well, we'll call it leader. You're a leader.
Sorry. I was a leader and I couldn't have everything that I wanted to have happen. So in the end, we said, you know what? Let's see if we can find a space. And we found a space. And it was through working through other venues for a year that we then found the space that we turned into Roar. Yeah. And the rest is 4.5 years of history now.
4.5 years. Now, you opened during
just before it.
Or is it just before a global
3 months
pandemic? And I honestly, a drag peer who is a leader, control freak, is opening a club, and you go like, oh, I wonder how this is going to go. Because, that's what we do with each other.
Yeah.
You support, but you're also like, I wonder how this is going to go. Then I hear that there's a partnership there, and I'm like, okay, they know what they're doing. This is going to... And then my heart broke because any business starting at that time really, most likely is not going to make it.
I'll tell you... as odd as this is to say, COVID was a blessing for us. We were just, it was, 3 or so months and we were just going crazy.
Right.
Right. And we're trying to maintain day jobs and run this thing that we wanted it to be. And we didn't even know exactly what we wanted it to be. I mean, we knew we wanted it to be a nightclub. We knew we wanted to have fun. But then there was this bar aspect and this kitchen aspect. And obviously in New York with the extreme rules about food with drink. And it actually caused us to slow down, to ground ourselves and to make Roar the place that we really wanted it to be. Fortunately, my day job background is in finance. So I was able to, secure some loans, some funding, the PPP stuff, all that. And so we were able to make it through. But that wouldn't have been possible without a really strong community. And the fact that, as you say, as a leader or a control freak, I've met a lot of people. I know a lot of people in the community. I tend to be someone that doesn't burn bridges. And that is something that I think a lot of young kids need to learn because, it's going to turn around and we're going to end up working together again.
Right.
So I knew a lot of people. The community really supported us. I mean, I think we sold $50 T-shirts that it cost me $8 to print, like just so we could pay rent while we were closed. So we got smart. We had to think outside the box. And that's what drag is anyway.
Yeah.
And we just made it work. And it caused us to slow down, reevaluate, and really figure out, like, what do we want this place to be? So. And
the theme that's right out front is it's a place for everyone.
It is. So we're not everything for everyone, but we're something for everyone. So I like to remind people, because a lot of people think like a community center, and I'm like, we're not a community center, we're a business.
You're a business, but it's a bar and it's an entertainment complex in a way, because you've done a lot of different types of shows.
We do everything, and it always involves drag because it should. And everything we do has the rainbow on it. And even in this world, this crazy world that we live in right now, where we have targets on our backs, especially as drag and as members of the LGBT community, we're going to continue to put a rainbow on everything that we post.
Right.
Because that's what we're about. And if you're not comfortable with that, then Roar isn't something for you.
Right. So. And I love that it is in a part of the city where it's like you don't have to go down like 16 back alleys and it's behind a factory. Those are the types of things that we grew up with.
Yeah.
We had to hide.
It was seedy.
Right. And that's fun in itself.
Yeah.
But there's always the element of that. But when you walk into Roar, you feel the vibe of a nightclub. You feel the vibe of a restaurant. You feel the vibe of a bar. You feel the vibe of a comedy club. You feel the vibe, like it's very unique, and it's this gorgeous chandelier and the different levels, which makes it fun, but it's not like gigantic.
Correct.
So, because these are things that I think I'm putting words into your mouth. But I feel like you took into account. You said, this is what Mothers had. This is what GQ had. This is what Tilt had. This is what I liked about this. And it looks like, from some on the outside, you took the different pieces of the things and brought them into this place. And then you have friendly faces that we've known in the community, like Lori at the door. These are people.
Sherwin behind the bar, and Tammy.
Right.
Again, that's what we wanted. We wanted to, hire people we could trust. Because at the end of the day, it's a small business and we're not going to be there all the time. So we have to trust our employees. We have to trust the people that we hire. So who would you hire?
Right.
You hire your friends. And, a lot of people say all the time, oh, I see all the same girls performing at Roar. And I'm like, well, of course you do. They're my best friends.
Your best friends. You've worked together for years.
I can not show up and my show will run just fine.
Right.
Because we've worked together for decades.
And now this is probably my OCD / control freak. I have never been at Roar and found that it was dirty. It's so clean.
Oh, it is.
Which is so awesome.
We spent a lot of money on that.
Here's the thing. People are going to destroy the place. People are going to move stuff, pick stuff, drop stuff, spill stuff. They're partying. They're drunk. They're having a great time.
Of course.
So these things happen. But I love that. And correct me if I'm wrong. Where else is there to go dancing in Rochester right now?
There isn't.
Yeah.
There really isn't. There's a couple other places, but not to our level, not that have shows and not that are 18 and up. And that's a funny thing because some people say to us, oh, you should do a 21 and over night. And I'm like, why? People don't realize our average age, because we have an ID scanning system. It gives us all sorts of demographics. 31 years old on the weekends. which means for every 18-year-old, there's a 44-year-old.
Well, that's the other thing that I love. Okay, there's so many things. Now, the COVID is the most inspiring thing because I understand business and that's where I've worked primarily before performing. And I was like, wow, that's impressive. Knowing you and your personality, I was like, wow, you were humbled. You were like, I am going to be extra kind and open the doors. And we all grew up through different types of personalities, but I was like, I noticed that difference. Thought that was great for business. But then you try different things. You bring in people from RuPaul's Drag Race. You bring in people from Dragula. You try karaoke night. You try comedy night. You bring in bands. Ava has her amazing
painting class. Oh, so fun.
So many cool things. And then the opportunity to host Pride when it was in a transition year.
Correct. Yeah.
And you said, we're going to do that.
Of course it rained, but we did it.
I mean, it's Rochester. But that's impressive. And then now you're like, you know what? One of our queens absolutely loves theater. Let's start bringing some drag style theater to the space.
Yeah. So we did Little Shop of Horrors, and we were fortunate enough that you and Darian came and saw it, and we appreciate that.
Fantastic, yeah.
Thank you. And it was a great show. I couldn't believe it. And in life, you have to meet people where they are in general anyway. And so I really do want to encourage these performers to think outside the box too. And as long as we're not losing money, it's a great thing. So they said, let's do a musical. And I was like, well, let's do it. And we had drag kings and drag queens and it was an all queer cast. And it was some of our employees, one of our bartenders was in it. I mean, it was just, he's like, I can sing, I want to do this. And I'm like, okay. And it turned out to be wonderful. So now, mystery theater dinners. And then in the fall, we're going to do another one.
Yeah,
we decided.
that's great.
So we're excited.
And it's just another opportunity for people to come together. As you said, you're celebrating the queer community. And you're noticing somebody within the team who's like, oh, I want this opportunity. And you're providing. Now, what you said there, not so shyly, is like, I want to make sure that this makes money. I want to make sure that this is the right, and that is the way you run a business. I mean, there's a bit that you balance all of those things out.
I tell any of our employees, any of the queens, kings, any of them that perform, I want you to come to me with your ideas. But you have to respect if I look at it from a business standpoint and tell you that it's not going to work, or you have to respect if I say, no. That doesn't mean don't come to me with your ideas. I want your ideas. I want your feedback. And I want the community's feedback too, which sometimes we get too much of it. But sometimes you have to make business decisions. At the end of the day, I have no problem putting money into something and trying something and taking a risk. But if it doesn't work, we're not going to do it again.
Right.
That's common sense, right? I mean,
well, and at the same time too, I think I just like the idea that this is a part of the management and the aspect of leadership that I see. Now, with your day job, do you have a team that you manage? Is it something that you're like on your own? How's that work?
No, I have a team that I manage. I manage a whole finance team for a construction company, actually.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah.
So there are people that have to come to you with ideas, the same sort of thing. So this is
kind of, yeah. Yeah, okay. For sure.
Yeah, so people management, I guess, is what I'm saying. What is it that you expect as this, I mean, you become a leader in the community when you open a place like this, because as we know with the LGBTQ plus community, oftentimes there may be a community center, but where do we gravitate? Where do we all go? We go to that bar. And I think that's probably why you're so passionate about the 18-year-old, because that's when you went out to the clubs.
Correct.
At that age.
And we have such a huge trans community in Rochester. And obviously, given the direction that our country appears to be going with some of these states, New York is kind of a safe haven for a lot of people. And that's good. So for us, I'm like, I went out when I was 18, and where was I going to go?
Yeah, that's where we go.
And as people were becoming 21 and over only, and I'm like, you know what? We don't really draw that many kids. We draw a lot of adults that act like children, but we don't draw that many 18 to 20-year-olds. And so, you know what? I just want to remain a place that they can go if they want to go.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, like back in my starting, I'm more like 20 years ago that I started, but there were certain people that would come to the shows. And at the times that I've performed, at Roar. It's, you know, you take into consideration I'm an older gal and I don't want to do the late night show. So I'll start like at an earlier time. We'll just call it like a dinner show. And the times that I'm there, it warms my heart to see some of the people that I remember that used to come to the shows. Let's just say the older generation, and they're there sitting around the bar, and just like you can tell, it's like this is their spot, and that's just amazing because like in a couple hours, then some of the 18-year-olds and the 31-year-old whatever are going to come, and you have these little opportunities, and that is so special. It's not a community center, but it's a place where people can gather and be themselves.
Exactly it.
Yeah,
exactly.
And my best friend, she and I used to go out to all the different clubs back when you were performing, and before I did drag, we'd go to GQ and Tilton, this, that, and the other. And she ended up meeting her husband. You know, this is a straight woman. She meets her husband in the gay bar.
Of course.
And they have kids, and they've been married ever since. So this is like such a good feeling to me that we have establishments where everyone's welcome. They can meet each other and just simply have a good time. And that's what we say at our brunches too.
Yeah.
Look around the room. People are going to have different political views. People are going to have different upbringings, religious views, whatever. But here we are all together today to simply have a good time. And that's really what Roar encompasses. Now, how do you manage? I mean, listen, we're dramatic drag queens.
No.
Drag kings, dramatic.
No.
And I mean, what do you expect from your performers, from your staff?
I expect things. Well, first, the number one thing we try to work on at Roar is customer service. Okay. That is critically important. Okay. Everyone needs to feel valued. They need to feel heard. And I understand we're a nightclub and it's hard to hear. But you need to, you just want to make sure that you're listening to the customer and that, you're doing what you can for them. Obviously there are limitations to that. My performers, my staff, I just expect things to run. Like we want to give you the tools to be empowered to make your own decisions in real time. Again, control freak, right. But I can't run everything. And so we want to make sure that our show hosts, our performers all know starting times, ending times. We want to make sure that they understand some core basics of the business. And that's the thing about drag. So many people forget that the drag is a business. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you're not, it's an escape for people, and it's a way to feel more comfortable about yourself. It's a way to dive into a character. It's all of those things, but also, and it's not, I don't mean a business just about making money in drag, but I mean, you have a job to do.
Right.
You're there to entertain. And that means you start on time. That means you're paying attention to when the bar is busy, when the bar is slow. Should you start the show? Should you stop the show because the bar is too busy? The bar's not busy enough. Like you just need to watch all of those things. Mm-hmm. And so I just expect our people that work at Roar, one, to like working there. I want you to like where you work. But I want you to remember that it isn't all fun and games. It is a business. We need to get through our day, through our night, through what we're doing. We need to make sure customers are happy.
Right.
And we need to try to make a little bit of money.
Yeah, of course. And I think one of the things that I have noticed, I mean, obviously I've had the privilege of being on RuPaul's Drag Race and travel, and I get to see a lot of the way that people run their clubs. And I think you and I started when it was just like you got tips only.
Yeah.
And it was like, and you had to try to look better than these people that have had day jobs and have done drag forever. And you're like, how am I competing? And so, I think it's important as we go around the pay scale is so crazy. The differences where you have people coming in who are going to be brought in. And I've been brought into nightclubs back when I was asked to go to nightclubs. Now it's more brunches, but it's fine. And that's better for me. But when I would get brought in, they'd look me up and down and be like, they would know that I was making significantly more money than them. Mm-hmm. And so I would position myself to be back there and to meet these people. Because as you said, you never know. One of them's going to either win Drag Race someday and do a tour and want to bring people, or own their own club, or whatever the case may be. So you want to continue to build positive relationships. But it breaks my heart, though, that sometimes out there, some of these clubs are still doing like, here's your, you get to make tips.
Here's 2 drinks. Here's your 2 drinks. And again, there's a difference for us as a drag queen that co-owns, the main drag bar in Rochester.
Right.
And that is that I understand it costs money.
Yes.
I mean, this natural hair that I'm wearing
Oh, natural.
with the super smooth wig line is not cheap.
No.
None of this is.
But-
and so I understand that there's a cost to do drag, and there's a cost to do drag at a level that I would like to see on my stage.
Yeah. So then,
You got to pay them.
you got to pay them. Pay accordingly. And I think the incentives is the fact that there is the family, and within the family at the Roar nightclub, you've got obviously Carmen, who does wigs.
Yes.
You've got Vega, who has been creating costumes for people for years.
Correct.
And obviously Lucy and Donna. So we have all these different people that if you have a part of the team and celebrate them, that actually helps. And
It does.
And
It does, of
and
course.
Even the nights where it's the amateur nights, I love the fact that there's that, and it's like you're basically going to drag school.
And these are just building. These amateur nights that we're doing on Thursdays are just building and building and
Yeah.
building. These kids are coming out of the woodwork.
I love it.
And I do too. And I absolutely love it. And it's been really empowering. I mean, and to hear some of these kids' stories, like we remember our first club that we went to. We remember the first place we performed. And to think that Roar is the first for so many other people, like that warms my
Yes.
heart. That warms my heart. Like, we're
Well,
your first.
Okay, so that is a great transition to I want to hear the craziest story that you remember from the nightclub scene. It could be Roar, it could be other places, something crazy that you cannot even believe happened. Did a celebrity come through? Did a certain situation happen? You were like, I cannot believe I just saw what just happened in a nightclub scene. And then I want to hear the most heartwarming story.
Okay, so I think one of the craziest things is I did a show and Little John was there,
It was Little John.
the rapper.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It was a 98 PXY, I think a summer jam.
Right.
Until we were the after party, and they got word that he was coming, and we had to open up a back door. And I'm thinking, does he understand back door at a gay club? I don't know. I don't know if he knows. And but he's sat in the corner of this booth, and he made people stand in front of him so that he didn't see the show.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, is this really happening?
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm telling you where that wouldn't happen. Roar.
Right.
I wouldn't allow it.
No.
But anyway, it was money and they wanted it and that happened. And so I'm like, yeah, I did a show for Little John. And I'm like,
God.
no, but he hid in the corner in front of his bottle
Well,
of booze.
he was there for the party.
It was fine.
Yeah,
So that was good. Heartwarming story.
Most heartwarming thing that you can think of.
Probably not the most, but this is one that I absolutely love.
Right.
There's a customer that comes into Roar, and he comes in almost every single Friday and Saturday. I don't know his exact age, but he's probably in his late 50s. And he loves to wear neon, and he brings pom-poms with him. And he's always there at the beginning of the night, and he dances for 2 hours straight. To whatever we're playing, it doesn't matter. It could be a Latin night and he doesn't understand a single word that's coming out. And he just dances until we get really busy. And then he always finds me, whether I'm in drag or not, gives me a big hug, thanks me, and leaves. And it's every Friday and Saturday.
That's
he
amazing.
just comes out for his cardio, and he wants to be crazy, and he wants to wear neon and wear pom-poms, and sometimes he wears a skirt, and he's got his facial hair, and he'll put on a little makeup sometimes.
Living his best life.
And I just love it. And I think to myself, if Roar wasn't here, where would he go?
Right.
Where would he go to have this little bit of fun?
Right. And
that makes his week.
Who knows what his story was? And you said in his 50s or whatever, he may and most likely have lived in a time where he wasn't allowed to express himself in any way.
Yeah.
And he has this place where he's welcome. He can do whatever he feels and have the freedom to express himself and feel appreciated that he's there, not kicked out.
Yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, he's out there dancing, and he's in his neon, and we always make sure the black lights are on for him, and he's having a good time. And I thought, you know what, we're gonna spice him up a little bit. So out of my dressing room, I brought him one of those big boas,
Right.
really stupid expensive boas that I should not have bought.
Yeah.
I brought it out and I was like, use this boa for a while. And he's like, oh my God.
Is it one of the boas with feathers or is it like that?
It's no, I wish it was the tulle one, because those ones wouldn't lose the damn feathers.
Yeah, those are good. I'll give you a connection to those.
Yeah.
They're great because you can wear them as a boa, then you can turn them into a part of a sleeve, and they're great, and they don't ever really
Love it.
like shed or whatever.
Connections.
That's
what we
this is all
do.
about. Yeah. Okay. What else did I want? So those stories. I think, honestly, what I found this quote the other day, and I thought of you. 1,000-mile journey starts with a single step. And is it Lao Tzu? Laotzu? It's sort of a Zen kind of a Buddhist statement. And it's just the idea that you took the step, you took the chance. You said, you know what? And of course, you had your husband and Mighty Mike, and you were all like, let's do this. And you did this for the community because it was done for you. And I think that's and sometimes that's our responsibility as drag performers and as we're aging in the community. But we are able to provide these places for people and these experiences for people that were there for us and that maybe we can make even better for them. And so, honestly, thank you for.
Well, don't make me cry.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm an auntie. That's what I do.
I know. I can't seem emotional.
I mean, but that's what it is. And again, like I said, we've always had a good relationship. Yeah. But since I saw you opening this club and providing this kind of experience and the energy of places that I loved, the Mothers and the GQ and the Tilt, and taking the positives of those places. Well, let me tell you one thing. Oh, I keep forgetting about this. Carmen does a TikTok, and I don't know what you have on the stage that has the exhaust or the steam.
Yeah.
What is that? Is it like a CO2?
Mighty Mike made it.
Is it like a...
Oh, the big one where it blew her wig? Yeah, it's CO2.
CO2. Okay. I never had that on stage with me. And I could look at that.
The one where it blew her wig in front of her face, it was great.
So it's like a shot of like cold air or something.
It's really cold.
Yeah.
Which is nice because it gets warm.
Yeah, which is great for a performer. And it's this shot of cold air and her wig is like, and it just flies. Oh my God, it cracks me up. And I mean, that's the kind of family thing. I mean, that's what siblings do to each other.
Oh yeah, now it's become a thing. Since Carmen did the TikTok thing and then slowed it down in slow motion for... Oh yeah, now it's a thing. Now our lighting expert guy like tries to hit us up. He really just does it to me now because, I mean, Carmen took it in jest, but I don't think she was very happy. But it wasn't on purpose.
No,
but,
it made a good TikTok.
Now it's like a thing, and I'm like, oh no, he's gonna try to like blow my natural hair off my head.
Oh, natural. No, I think it's funny. And I think that's, again, like that's that family vibe. It's like brothers and sisters teasing each other. And before we go into our final thing, I want to say that what I have also witnessed, and as you are very well aware, that oftentimes our drag kings don't get celebrated in the clubs. And it's often, we're queens. Mm-hmm. And you foster an environment where the drag kings have their shows and they're a part of the shows. And we just had Taylor in, and they feel seen, they feel represented, and that's so special and important because in my travels, that's not always the case. And I know that there are very vocal drag kings like Landon Insider who are like, oh my gosh, like I have to scream to get the same kind of equal treatment as the queens. And so that's fantastic too. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We try.
You do. You're doing it.
We're not perfect,
and
but we're trying.
I am not going to do that. Listen, there's a part of me that is a business mind too and a marketing mind too, but I am saying these things from my heart and I believe it. And I think that this is the responsibility that we have as the laughing that drag elders. But we are, and this is what we're doing. So congratulations. Okay, let's move on to my favorite part, dad jokes.
Dad jokes.
So what two jokes have you pulled
They're
from
on the same card.
Okay.
I liked them both. Why do seagulls fly over the sea?
Why?
Because if they flew over the bay, they'd be bagels.
That's one of my favorites. Oh my God. It's the same joke I just pulled. Okay. All right, so here's the next one. What did the volcano say to his sweetheart?
I don't know.
I lava you. I told you have to. It's all in the delivery.
How do you cook an alligator?
How?
In a crock pot.
See, that's not funny, but I laugh. Okay. Why are teddy bears never hungry?
I don't know.
Because they're always stuffed. Stupid. Okay, we are dads because we're both laughing way too hard.
I know.
Dog dads, but dads nonetheless.
It's fun.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you
today,
for having me.
And thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, and letting everybody know about Auntie. We're having a hoot and a holler, and I can't wait to see who's next. Woo! Remember, there's always time for kindness.